Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast. I am your host, the Aquarian Chancellor, and this is the podcast, the Girl Get Up podcast, where we tell our stories. I have my guests on, they tell their stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs, all in hopes that it inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. Let's get into the show for today because I have a guest, Dr. Dominique Carson. She is a licensed massage practitioner. She is going to come on and share with the audience who she is and what she does. Miss Carson, well, Dr. Carson, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Dominique Carson, or some people like to say Dr. Dom. That's fine. I help men and women business professionals relieve stress and improve overall muscle recovery in 2 hours or less. And what that entails is that I am an award-winning and globally recognized massage practitioner. I've been in the industry now for 5 years. I completed my massage schooling in New York City, my hometown, Queens. I finished my program. But I'm originally from Brooklyn, the home of the notorious B.I.G., my favorite rapper of all time. Just want to put that out there real quick. I'm also a journalist. I'm a freelance journalist. I've been in the industry now for close to 2 decades. I started writing articles when I was 16. I am a speaker. And as of this month, I became an international speaker. I just spoke in Canada, Toronto, and I am an author. I've been featured in anthologies, collaboration books. I wrote a biography, a journal based on a city I worked on in Brooklyn, and it's more to come. So that's just a synopsis of me.
I love that. She said, and there's more to come. I know that's right. She's not like what I'm talking about. Okay, so now you have shared with the audience who you are and what you've done. Tell the audience about your childhood experiences and how do you think that they shaped who you've become today in the present?
My childhood in Brooklyn, East New York, Brooklyn is a very urbanized community. I think it has so many racial stereotypes because when you're from those urbanized communities, a lot of like society like to put you as a statistic. Like your life is supposed to hit a certain way because where you come from. But at the same time, I'm proud of the roots that I come from in East New York. I had a very loving family. I think everybody without, bliss, along with the blissful times, there's also some trouble sometimes. But I would have to say my meddlesome moments was just being a kid. I wasn't afraid to be different. I wasn't afraid to use my imagination. I was very much a tomboy. I
No,
love my cousins. I love my cousins. I was a lot of my male cousins. Some of them were like my brothers, my big brothers, because a lot of the female cousins in my family, they were teenagers.
Mhm.
So that was a pro because my musical library expanded. My cousins were teenagers in the 90s, so I heard all of that type of music. And then my grandparents, a lot of the classical soul, R&B. My mother was a big Marvin Gaye fan, so I played Marvin Gaye. Um, my mother's been an educator for the New York City Department of Education for close to 30 years. I've had two really good male paternal figures in my life. My biological father was killed when I was 3. I mean, not 3, when I was 1, before I could even talk. And then my sister's dad stepped up. And then when him and my mother's relationship deteriorated, writing became an outlet in my life to help me channel how I felt. My voice became my artistry. And then my pops came from when I was 8 to now an adult. So like those mixture of those males in my life, along with my grandfathers, my uncles. So I would have to say it was just full of imagination. Utilizing my pen, I was involved in so many different things. My parents really believed that it was important for me to be active. I was a cheerleader. I played flag football. I played softball. I was a tap dancer. I got I did so many different things to stay out of trouble because I had a really severe asthma attack that put my life at stake. And that was kind of like the turning point for my family to make sure that I was teenager. So it has its pros and its cons. And those were some of the life lessons that I was taught early, just to be mindful and stay on a path. And that became from my parents, because even though I was very sheltered, my parents made sure that it was important to school all of us. So by the time I was 13, I knew everything from the book. And then my grandparents were kind of like that reassurance for me. So, mhm.
Wow. Oh, wow. I hear a lot of similarities in your story. My father passed when I was 2. And so even though I do still have memories of him, I know he was not physically present. So you carry certain holes in what you tend to gravitate to in relationships or just
Mhm.
people in general. And
Yeah, and that's one thing I loved about my mother. She told me what it was, the type of things that my father was doing at the time. And my mother was that type of person, like, I'd rather tell you than someone else from the street tell you.
Mhm,
So, as my face was getting older and maturing, developing, I started looking like my biological father.
mhm,
And my sister, dad, Ernest, he knew my father. So it's not like that, it wasn't a mystery,
right.
because everything was set on the table. And then my pops came in, and I come from two blended families. So that's
Mhm,
when I have to break it down. So my brother was my mother's student. That's
okay,
how they met.
okay.
And that was like my second blended family. So my mom has been in my brother's life since he was 6 years old. She was his teacher.
Mhm,
So that's how my pops and my mom first started dating, just from that experience. So I get the balance, the challenges and the blessings of coming from two blended families. But
yeah,
that was the best thing about my mom, is that I always knew my biological father's family. Like, I was still close to my grandfather, my nana, my uncles, my cousins. So it wasn't taboo. Like, it was what it was. And, my mother was not afraid to tell me. I remember I met my father's brother when I was 13, because he was incarcerated. Unfortunately, when you're hustling, it comes with a price. And he allowed me to ask him anything I wanted to know.
wow.
And yeah, he asked me, he said, ask away. And there was some hard questions that I asked him. But he said, let's put it out on the table. And that's exactly what he did. But our relationship is so strong, you wouldn't think that he was just in my life at 13.
Mhm,
That's how our relationship is. And along as my other uncles as well, but mainly my Uncle Troy, that's my father's um second, like, he has three other brothers, but that type of relationship was dynamic, because I think just a lot of them just had the love and the admiration from my father. So that was like I'm the living seed
yeah,
of that. And the older I get, I'm a resemblance of both of them, of
mhm.
my mom and my biological father.
Hmm. Talk about growing up with all this male influence around you.
I'm serious. It, like I said, there's this heavy quotes that a lot of them taught me, like, whatever doesn't blend with the wash, it will come out in the rinse. Don't write a
Yeah,
checklist.
yeah.
Don't don't write a check that your ass can't cash. You got to know the street because you walk the street. I was taught that from 6 years old. And then when you coming from Brooklyn and East New York at that, you got to know the street. And I'm such a very kind-hearted person. That was instilled in me because of the kind of heart that I have. I'm very kind-hearted, and they recognize that. So that those things were instilled in me early. And whatever decision you make,
Yeah.
wrong turn can interrupt those decisions. Like I said, I had very open parents, very vocal, maybe sometimes too open,
Okay.
but I appreciated that.
In school, did you always know that you wanted to go to college? Because you have quite an extensive education background. Is
Absolutely. I knew if I wanted to be a journalist, I had to go to school. That was the only reason I went to college. My mother would tell me the only reason why she went to college, because she knew in order for her to be a teacher, she had to go to college. I
Mhm.
knew if I wanted to be a journalist, I needed a degree. So I knew from the time I was in the fourth grade that I was going to be a journalist.
Oh
I
wow. Talk about dedication.
from teen from watching Teen Summit on BET.
Really?
Yeah, BET.
That's
every
awesome. What
Saturday,
age was
every
it? And you picked
Saturday,
that time.
every Saturday at noon. That's when BET was headquarters in DC. And Ananda Lewis was one of my favorite journalists. And I just loved how she presented herself on that show. And I said, I'm gonna be a journalist. I knew I wasn't gonna be video or on camera, but I knew that I was gonna have a career in journalism. And then my uncle Ricky was my inspiration too, right? Along with his daughters, my cousins, Iani and Fatima. My cousin Iani was just a dope poet. Like she was just dope with her words, her allegory, her symbolisms. Realism was crazy, her motifs, how she put all of that in words at 12 years old was just dope. So
Mhm.
I was around that. She was my library. You
Okay.
know, the way that she taught me so many Black authors, Connie Briscoe, Alice Walker, Gwendolyn Brooks, my favorite poet of all time, Maya Angelou.
Okay.
Um, she put me to school. And even the Caucasian artists, Judy Blume, VC Andrews, James Patterson, just so many talented people. Bernice McFadden,
Okay.
like she took me to school with the authors with that. And then I love biographies and nonfiction because I love learning from other people's stories.
Yes.
And the high school I
Love.
went to, Edward R. Murrow, to participate in the journalism program, you had to do 2 introductory courses and you had to do well to
Mhm.
be in the school newspaper. So I remember going through that process as well. And then once I told my mother that I really wanted to be a journalist because of my hearing deficiency, we made sure I had extensive speech related services. We made sure I read a lot, make sure I studied a lot. And then I was at my grandparents' house. They had magazines ready for me. They
Yeah.
had Good Housekeeping, Red Book, Entertainment Weekly, Jet, Ebony. I had to read a newspaper. My grandfather had me study Peter Jennings,
Okay.
Cheryl Wills from New York One. Yeah, he was serious. And Edward R. Murrow. Those are the other journalists I had to study. And Tavis Smiley. Those are the four that I had to study along the people that I admired. Because if he was like, you're going to be in this field, I need you to do it your best. And they had me submit to different contests. I was an honorable mention by the time I was 13
Mm.
because a lot of the things they had me in, because they knew how much writing was my passion.
One of the questions or one of the elements of my program is called developing an establishing supporting network. It's called
Mm-hmm,
establishing a supporting network. And that's all about finding the appropriate mentorship to help you along in your career path. It
mm-hmm,
sounds as if, and I want you to expound on this, that your mother's education background and having like grandparents that were very supportive and made sure that you had the resources that you needed to
mm-hmm,
develop that gift that you had at such an early age. Could you talk about how
mm-hmm.
important your mother's mentorship was?
Absolutely. I just talked about this in a new collaboration that book I watched. I used to watch my mother teach.
Mm,
From the time I was 9 years old, I would watch her teach. When teachers were absent or when they had to split us up in school or whatever reason it was, I was like, I want to go to my mother's classroom. And
right.
I would finish my homework and I would watch her teach. And I just saw how she just took the stage. She
Mm,
made the classroom her stage. From her classroom management, she knew how to be empathetic. She knew how to be stern. She knew how to just kick the door down and let people know, like, I'm here.
right.
You're going to learn from me. And by the time you're going to learn from me, you're going to be a better student than when you first started in September. Like, it was just no pun intended. And as a kid, I just absorbed all of that as a sponge.
Mm,
And then I just love my mother's ambition, her drive, her diligence. She had me young. She had me at 21 and still was able to finish college, still able to get her master's, still able to get 30 above her master's. That's like a requirement that's optional for educators to do. And to watch your mother's educational journey with her.
mhm,
I remember back in the day, she was a diamond in the rough. And to see her kind of like now a more poised educator over the years because she had mentors to
mhm,
guide her. when she first started teaching. My mother been teaching since she was 25.
Oh
So a
wow.
lot of growth from 25 to nearly 55. That's
Yeah,
a lot in your
so
30-year
after my
career.
undergrad,
I went straight to grad school. That was not part of the plan. I had a scholarship. I said free money.
okay,
That's what
like
I
Carmen
had
B
free
say,
money. Yeah. I had free money for a year for grad school. And then that's when the student loan came out for grad school the second year. But I was still able to finish my master's. I wasn't even 24 years old yet. I got my master's 3 weeks before I turned 24. And I was just in the industry, took those 9 to 5s that would transfer my media and communication skills. And I was interviewing artists, going to concert reviews, interview all the heavy hitters in the industry. And yet I felt unfulfilled. I
wow.
felt like there was something else that I needed to be doing.
May I ask a
And
question
mind you,
before you go on? What
hmm,
may I ask a question?
sure.
Why do you think you felt unfulfilled? Because by the everyone else's standards, you rubbing shoulders, and I saw your website, by the way. So I know your level of work, and you rubbing shoulders with all these people that by
Hmm.
the outside standards, you made it. Like you sitting on the couch with
Hmm.
this.
Yeah, like
So,
you would think, right?
yeah. So why?
Um,
What was that unfulfillment for you?
I wasn't seeing the result financially. That was one.
Okay.
I was making enough to live,
Hmm.
was making enough to pay my bills, but I felt like I needed to be doing more. And then I always followed something inside of me that I needed to be doing something in additional to what I was doing. So massage is something I played around with from the time I was 17. My mom gave me my first session. Her and my pops, they took us to a spa in Manhattan called Serenity.
Okay.
I was on a euphoria. I was on a high. I was like, yes, I
Mm.
could get used to this. But it wasn't until my grandmother, God bless her soul, my mother's mother, that told me I was going to do something else with my hands. In
Oh,
addition to writing, she said it at 17. And because of the light massage that I gave her,
you said that. I'm sorry.
and I always knew the craftsmanship of my hands from a kid, but I didn't think, massage therapy, I didn't think nothing kinesthetic will be another career. So I played around with it for years, and I was getting the same feedback from other friends and family. And my grandfather, my father's father, gave me $100 for my birthday. And I said, what am I really going to do with this money? And I spent it on massage school. I put in an application. Everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, girl, you got a mess in massage school, January 26, 2016. I was 25 going on 26. And I finished massage school. And it was the best decision I made because I knew at that point it was a now or never decision. And to finish massage school, close to 29, getting licensed in New York State and in Virginia, because you had to pass nationals to massage outside of New York State, doing all of that by the time you're 29. So this leads up to humanitarian. Like I've always given back. I watched how my mother has given back to students. That was always in me to give back. And it started in high school and it started in college. And then to be somebody's recognizing your work and your journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a collaboration. This is the beauty of collaboration and not burning bridges with people.
Oh wow.
So I did a collaboration book because I was honored with the Global Iconic Changemaker Award. So I was like, okay, this is good. Globally recognized now. We want to put it in a collaboration book. I said, okay, fine. One of my mentors, Dr. Rosalind Willis, she was like, how would you like to be nominated for an honorary doctorate? I said, what? I was like, hell yeah, in my head, like,
Okay.
okay. So because you watch your prominent leaders, you watch your favorite celebrity, that's like Grammys
Mm-hmm.
to us. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's like Grammys, that's like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's the biggest thing since I was in college, like that Brooklyn College Hall of Fame. So for somebody to say you've been nominated, and we started the nomination process on my cousin's birthday, which we lost, my cousin Hassan. That was another figure in my life that said, yo, cuz, you need to be doing something with these hands.
Mm-hmm.
And to, start that process on his birthday was just dope. About 3 months later, You a recipient. I said, excuse me? It
Right.
was because you have to be nominated to even be considered through the school or through somebody in that community. So
Mhm.
my mentor is in that community, and she nominated me. And of course, I tell people you have to pay. There's a fee. There's applicable fees that you have to pay. But we still had to be interviewed. We still had to submit bios. It's a whole committee. It's not a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. So when they said I was a recipient, and then it's the school that the singer Monica received hers,
Okay.
CeeLo Green received theirs,
Okay.
television personality Yandy Smith received
Mhm.
hers from the same school I received mine,
Okay.
was dope. I was like, yes. And it's funny because my mother, once again,
Mhm.
we were sweeping the yard when I was 21, and I was going through the process of getting a PhD. This was what I was thinking about it. And I was like, I don't really want to do it because it's a process. You got to make sure you get your funding. She's like, I don't know. Let me tell you something right now. I don't know how you're going to get your doctor in front of your name, but I'm telling you, somebody going to be calling you Dr. Carson. I don't know when, I don't know how. And it came back 12 years later. And that was a moment for her and I, because we were literally sweeping in the yard. And she said that to me.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, somebody going to be calling you Dr. Carson. So when I told her I was a recipient, she said, what did I tell you? That woman has been saying that to me since I was 21. She said, you have been honored. Somebody has watched how you've given to society, how your story has impacted others. That's why you got it.
Mhm. It sounds like you have a lot of full circle moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a perfect place to put a pin in it. Welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast, the podcast that inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. You can catch the Girl Get Up podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on iHeartRadio, Spotify,